All right, so let the chaos begin. You can see we're in full-fledged put the car back together mode. So let's talk about what we did yesterday. Yesterday I got up under it and I finalized the exhaust. I got it hung to where I don't feel like it's gonna come separate again and fall off the car going down the road, which would be bad. We started working on, like I said, putting some things back on the car. You saw in that opening segment there's trim and crap laying everywhere. That was out of last night. I had worked all day. It was hot, tired, and I said, well, let's do something easy that needs to kind of be done. I had already gone through my trim before, but I wanted to kind of lay it out, make sure I did have all my pieces, and try to identify exactly where they go, and going to try to identify how I'm going to put them back on the car. But let's back up further than that. One of the things that I did work on, let me back you up where you can see, and I'll show you what we got done. All right, well, we off camera last week I worked on these headlight buckets and getting them stripped and polished, and we painted the grill. So one of the other things that I did is I had bought all new headlights, the polished headlight buckets, and it looks good. It really completes the front of the car. It really, if you look at it, you can really see the fact that Mercury stole front end from the Lincoln Continental. This is completely Lincoln Continental. It just is. They can say whatever they want, but you compare this, that's what they did, and it looks great. One of the things that I did yesterday was begin to fit the fenders back on. There were some things that I had to do underneath the car on the body. There is a blind nut that goes underneath to hold the bottom of the fender on, and it was missing, so I had to fabricate a nut and washer to put in place so that the bottom edge of the fender will be held in place. I'm working on getting this trim piece attached. As of right now, it's just sitting in there. It locks into a piece of trim down here, and trying to figure out the order in which this stuff goes back together, well, that's become kind of tricky. But we're working on it. We're getting it back together. I think what I'm going to do as far as order and putting this stuff back together is I'm going to concentrate on getting the front end put back together, fenders and such. It needs fenders to go down the road. It doesn't necessarily need the rear quarters. I want the rear quarters on it, but it doesn't necessarily have to have the front quarter. It doesn't necessarily have to have the rear quarters on it to go up and down the road. It doesn't necessarily have to have any of these trim pieces to go back on that you saw in the opening video where I had it all laid out. That is going to be later on down the line, but hopefully before we take it to Cruising the Coast, I will be able to get this trim put back on, and maybe by the end of this video we'll discuss some of that trim. For now, we're going to get in here, like I said, and start bolting fenders back on. And I've got one thing that I'm going to show you real quick, and that has to be done to both fenders. This one's going to have to be slid back off and the modification made. Discovered it yesterday while I was trying to get it installed. There's a blind nut that needs to be put in place, and don't have any, but I'm going to show you how I'm going to make some. It's not a big deal. It's pretty easy, actually. This is the fender that is off the car on the passenger side. You see this hole right here. Let me bring you over and I will show you where it matches on the car and where it needs to be, what needs to happen. All right, so just behind the bumper, there is a filler panel right there, and that fender sits on top of that right here. And a bolt comes up from the bottom to secure this filler panel. It flops, secures that filler panel to that fender. Well, if you don't have a bolt and a nut, and getting in there to put a bolt and a nut, well, you want to say nightmare. So, what do? Well, in this case, what I'm going to do is I have flat washer and a 5/16 bolt, and I will take my little welder and I will tack weld the nut to the washer, and then I will take the washer and I will tack weld it inside the fender, and then it will be in there like this. Well, actually, it'll be in there like this, and you can reach from the bottom with the 5/16 18 bolt, little short bolt, and it will pull it all together. And yeah, that ain't exactly the right way to do it, but it will secure it. What I need are some blind nuts with the clips and just slip on, but I'm not going to buy any, and I don't have any currently. I'm going to make one more pass and take one more look and see if I actually can find some in my disaster of a shop. And if I can't, well, we're going to cut our losses and move on and get this stuff made so we can get these fenders installed. All right, so you see what I got there. I've got the nut tack welded to a flat washer. So I'm going to walk you over. I'm going to show you what I did inside the fender to be able to attach it so that becomes a blind nut. All right, so it's probably still too hot to touch. I just tacked it in there. But we're going to take this bolt out. We used the bolt and another washer on the outside to hold it in place. Or I would just use my little digits. Let's see if I do it quickly. Yeah, there you go. So there you have it. That is tacked to the inside of that fender so that I can come up from the bottom with this bolt and washer and hold this to that apron. Blind nut. Well, it's the next day, late in the afternoon the next day. Not even sure where we left off and what I was doing. Pretty sure we were talking about putting these fenders back on, which you can see I got the front put back together. Fenders are back on, everything's solid. I got the gaps somewhat adjusted. Hood's a little bit out of adjustment, but it'll be all right. It looks okay. Had to raise my hood pins a little bit. Was allowing the hood to get pulled down too far, and so I latched it, raised the hood pins, and got it to where the hood, still don't have to worry about the hood flying up. Anything happens to the latch because I've cut the core support out. Now we've moved on to the rear quarter panels. Let me just say, rear quarter panels are not for the faint of heart. Which is funny because I do have a heart condition. But let's just say I'm not going to be showing any detail on that, on how to put these quarter panels on, because I don't know how to put these quarter panels on, and I'm figuring that out as I go. As everything, like I said, in the real world garage, it's the real world. I'm learning about the welding and metal and trying to get it back in where some sort of shape and attached to the car, and this is not fun. This is not fun to me in the least. I'll bring you back here and I'll show you, and we'll talk a little bit about it. Biggest problem I'm dealing with is rust. You can't weld to rust. Just, you can't. So let's move back here and we'll talk about it. We'll sit down here, up and down 100 times here. This inner wheel tub is rusted. It's still pretty solid along the edge, but we've got a lot of rust holes right here. And there's not a heck of a lot you can do about that without cutting this out and either fabricating a new piece or finding some that are new old stock or what have you. But fabricating a wheel tub for me it's just not an option. So it's, like I said, this edge is pretty solid. Still got a good edge to attach to, but there's rust holes through here. Welding, cutting this out and trying to weld new metal to it, forget about it. What I've got to do is figure out where I'm going to cut. The panel is just out of the camera range. It's right there below y'all, and where I'm going to cut that panel and try to match it to this that's on the, what's left that's on the car. That is going to be the trick. You feel like you've only got one shot to get this right, so you want to try to, I'm trying to kind of take my time. This piece that I want to put on here took me months to find and was expensive when I found it, and it's not in great condition now that I got it. So I'm working with what I got. I did scab in a piece right here on this corner because this wheel tub here, it comes down and makes a shape and goes back. Well, all that was rusted off and gone, and there was no place for you to attach the quarter. So I was able to salvage this piece out of the old wheel tub that came on the quarter panel. When the guy cut them out for me, he cut like right across in here and took the lower section of this. But certain pieces of this are not much better shape. That's a piece of it right there. It's this piece right along in here. And as you can see, it's not in great shape either. And I was able to salvage a piece to put in here, and I did it tack welded in place so that I've got some place to attach the quarter there. And the rocker tip, I was able to take and attach a piece of the rocker. Where's the old piece? I don't see it. Here it is. This is it. This is the piece that I cut off of the old rocker. And as you can tell, there wasn't anything much left. The end of it was rusted off, so I was able to cut it out and put a piece of rocker from the stuff that I bought on here, so I would have a place to attach the quarter panel to. You can probably tell I'm not real excited about doing this. I don't have a lot of excitement in my voice. Biggest thing is I have a fear of screwing this up and looking stupid. So, it is what it is. There are days like that in the real world garage. Do the best you can do and hope for the best. So, another little coffee won't fix. Stop, sip on a little coffee and think about it for a few minutes. Maybe we'll come up with a plan. So let me stop blabbering and finish my coffee, and I'm gonna get back to work.